All right, for more on this, let's bring in the Education Secretary, Linda McMahon. So the president is having a battle royale, I guess, with Harvard. I mean, what's the goal here? To get them to make changes, to, I don't want to say put them out of business because they're not, but he's certainly draining their pocketbook with all these legal challenges.
Well, I think you heard the president say, you know, he wants really only the best for Harvard. And he doesn't want to harm Harvard. He wants it to be the best university it can be, but he is absolutely not going to tolerate, and he campaigned on this. He said he's not going to tolerate the anti-Semitism on campuses that are putting other students' lives in jeopardy. This is not a First Amendment case, which is being alleged. This is a civil rights case. And this is making sure that students have a safe place to go on campus and to learn and to study. You can't block libraries. You can't be in places where you shouldn't be and be causing potential harm to other students. It's not fair.
Mm-hmm. Madam Secretary, Sandra here in New York, thanks so much for coming on the program. So you said the president wants the best for Harvard. Well, there are some sowing fear over the president's actions, including the Massachusetts governor, Maura Healey, a Democrat, on these actions. She posted to Twitter just yesterday, or to X, this is an attack on the life-saving, world-changing research that happens at Harvard and at colleges and universities across the country. It's an attack on anyone that disagrees with Donald Trump. And if he can punish one institution like this, all are at risk. How do you respond to that, Madam Secretary?
Well, certainly, the president is looking at Harvard because, I mean, if you think about where did a lot of this anti-Semitism start, or where were the actions that we saw that were covered in the media? Harvard was clearly one of those places. Columbia was the other. The goal really is to have Harvard come to the table. Let's negotiate. Let's work through the things that we have put forward that we believe are going to make things better on the campus of Harvard. We did that with Columbia. I think that we're making great strides. We also sent a letter, and I talked to Alan Garber before any of this action took place and told him what our goals were. We sent a letter to him, and it was a pretty stiff letter. But we were hoping that would open the door to negotiations, and the answer was a lawsuit. So that's where we are today. But we really hope that we will be back at the table, negotiating and talking about the things that are good for Harvard and for the students that are on campus.
So there's a long list of actions that the president has taken against Harvard. We showed it in our last hour since the beginning of April. The latest is that the State Department now is pausing applications for student visas. And here's what Tammy Bruce, the spokesperson for the State Department, said earlier today. Listen here.
Every sovereign nation has a right to make sure that they know who's in their nation and if they are safe to be here, and for the people who want to come to understand that there are expectations when you get here so that we don't have to take your visa and remove you. We want to get this right at the start.
So, Madam Secretary, there's two pieces to this, I guess. There's the desire to keep radicals, particularly anti-Semitic radicals, out of the country. But then the other piece of this puzzle is that Harvard makes it, and other Ivy League institutions make a tremendous amount of money from foreign students who pay the full tuition. So again, this is sort of hitting them in the pocketbook to try to exact change. But you mentioned Garber a moment ago. He sounds like he's willing to talk, but the actions don't seem to match the words.
Well, that's true, and I couldn't agree with Tammy Bruce more in that we do have a right to know who these students are. I mean, clearly this is in the hands of the State Department and the Secretary of Homeland Security. This is not falling under DOE or the Department of Education, relative to these actions. But the president was really clear. Who are these students that are coming into the country? Who are these teachers? It's part of what we were asking with Harvard. What is their screening process? How do we know who are coming? What ideology the teachers may be teaching? Do the students have any background of, being involved in any kind of activity that could cause, riots on campus? And I think we clearly have a right to know that. That's within the realm of expectation of students who are coming into our country.
Secretary McMahon, I want to get your thoughts on women having to compete in some cases with biological boys in some sports, from the middle school level to high school on to college and beyond. There is an update from the U.S. Attorney Bill Essayli just now. The DOJ is launching an investigation Title IX investigation into California over trans players in girls' sports. There's a statement out. I'll put it up on the screen. Today, my office, along with Harmeet Dillon, is taking action to combat California's practice of allowing boys to compete in girls' sports. We're launching a Title IX investigation right now into CIF, which is, we don't have this on the screen, I'll just read it to you, the California Interscholastic Federation, okay, and the Drupa Unified School District for allowing a boy to dominate on the track team and take first place in competitions. We're also getting involved in an ongoing lawsuit against the Riverside Unified School District for allowing a boy to displace a girl in the cross-country team there. President Trump has been all over this, adamantly opposed to girls having to compete against biological males in these sports. Where does this go next?
Well, I can tell you that it absolutely is against Title IX. Title IX was established so that women had equal place in sports, and this is just doing the opposite this particular time. And we cannot allow women to have to compete against men in sports. Not only is it unfair, they have an unfair advantage physically, but also it's a safety issue as well. When you have seen, Riley Gaines talk about how hard she trained and competed and then was beaten, in her race. But she would have clearly won if she'd just been competing against women. So it was Stephanie Turner who took a knee in her fencing competition rather than face a male. And it's just we have to realize this is the law. It's Title IX, and I think the Attorney General is right to open this investigation. And it just shows that all of the agencies are working together to make sure that life on campus for all students is safe and that universities are following the law.
And as Riley has expressed many times on Fox News, it's not just the competition aspect of it, but it's the locker room aspect as well.
Absolutely.
And for female athletes to have to get changed in front of a fully intact male who's stripped down adds a level of discomfort. Sandra mentioned that President Trump is all over this issue, particularly in regard to California. Here's what he put out on Truth Social. He said, California, under the leadership of radical left Democrat Gavin Newsom, continues to illegally allow men to play in women's sports. This week, a transition male athlete at a major event that Sandra was referring to won everything and is now qualified to compete in the state finals next weekend. As a male, he was a less than average competitor. As a female, this transition person is practically unbeatable. This is not fair and totally demeaning to women and girls. He threatened to withhold major federal funding to the state of California if Gavin Newsom didn't turn this around. Newsom tried to compromise here. He said, okay, we're going to let biological males still play with the women, but we're going to open up an extra slot for a female athlete who came fourth. But it doesn't fix the problem that the biological males still go to dominate. Doesn't matter how many women or girls you have competing, the biological male is still going to win.
Absolutely. It does not fix the problem. It's in violation of the law. Gavin Newsom knows that. He's trying to play both sides. On the one hand, he says it's absolutely unfair for men to compete in women's sports, and yet he does nothing about it. And you can't sit on your hands and say one thing and not do anything. The president will force that action.
How many biological women did you see wanting to compete against male wrestlers? Not many, I would think.
No, not against the men, that's for sure.
Secretary McMahon, we appreciate you coming on the program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.